Okay, so you've got a big question, right? Maybe it's for a project, or maybe you're just curious. But you dive in, and it feels like you're lost in this endless sea of information. Well, finding answers you can actually trust is a skill. And today, we're going to lay out the map that guides every single great research journey.
Yeah, we've all been there. You have this amazing idea you want to dig into, but where do you even start? It can feel totally paralyzing. The secret isn't about trying to read everything on the internet. It's about having a process, a clear map to follow. And that map always begins by understanding the two main paths you can take.
So here's the deal. No matter what you're researching, it all boils down to two approaches. First, you've got secondary research. That's where you're using info that someone else already put together. The other path is primary research. That's when you go out and collect brand new, totally original data all by yourself. And honestly, the most powerful projects, they almost always use a mix of both.
Right. This is the simplest way to think about it. With secondary research, you're kind of like a detective, you know? You're sifting through clues that other people have already uncovered. But with primary research, you're the explorer. You're the one discovering those clues for the very first time. And that brings up the most important question right away. Which one do you do first?
The answer is pretty much always the same. You start with secondary research. Think about it like this. Before you can add something new to a conversation, you have to know what people are already talking about, right? You've got to build that foundation by looking at what's already out there.
So secondary research is all about using pre-existing stuff. It's how you avoid reinventing the wheel. You get to stand on the shoulders of all the researchers who came before you. This is your groundwork, your starting point. And where do you find all this info? Well, it's everywhere. You've got the classic stuff like books and academic journals, but also newspapers, magazines, tons of websites, and yeah, even podcasts and TV broadcasts. Any one of these could hold a key piece of your puzzle.
So why is this step so absolutely critical? Well, two big reasons. First, it just gets you up to speed on the topic. But maybe even more important, it helps you figure out if your idea is even possible. You might find out that somebody's already answered your exact question. Or, and this is where it gets really exciting, you might find a gap, a little hole in what's known that your own research can perfectly fill.
But let's be real. In this age of information overload, you can't just trust everything you read. You need a good filter. So you got to ask yourself, who wrote this? Are they credible? Is this thing even relevant to what I'm doing? Does it seem balanced, or is it pushing a specific agenda? And always try to cross-check what you find with another source. Oh, and for goodness sake, check the date. An article from 1995 probably isn't your best bet for a project on TikTok trends. Okay, so once you've built that solid foundation with your secondary research, you can see those gaps pretty clearly. And now it's time to think about filling them yourself. This is where you dig for new, original information. This is where you switch from just being a consumer of knowledge to being a creator of it. And that's primary research. It's firsthand, it's original, it's data you collect that's specifically for your question, the one your secondary research couldn't answer. This is your unique contribution. Now, when you're collecting your own data, it's usually going to fall into one of two buckets. On one side, you have quantitative data. Think quantity. It's all about numbers, stuff you can measure, count, and pop into a chart. It answers how many or how often. On the other side, you've got qualitative data. Think quality. It's descriptive. It's not numbers. It's the stories, the opinions, the experiences. It helps you understand the why and how. So how do you actually get this data? Well, you've got a whole toolkit at your disposal. You can do interviews, either face-to-face or online. You could send out surveys or questionnaires. You could even just watch people, observing behaviors as they happen. Or you could do an investigation of original materials, like company policies or video footage. The method you pick totally depends on the question you're trying to answer. But hey, just like with the other stuff, you need a serious pre-flight check before you jump in. Your primary research can't just come out of nowhere. It has to connect directly to what you already learned. It's got to be safe for you and for anyone involved. It absolutely must be ethical, and you have to be realistic. Do you actually have the time and resources to pull this off? Here's a pro tip. Always try to run a small pilot study first. It helps you test things out and fix any problems before you go all in. All right, you get the two main paths. You've seen the methods, you know the safety checks. Now, before you take a single step, it's time for one last look. This is your final pre-flight check to make sure your whole plan is solid. So ask yourself these last few critical questions. What information do I truly need? What's the right mix of using existing research versus creating my own? Am I looking for numbers or stories or both? Who am I going to involve in my own research? And are they the right people? And then, taking a big step back,
Is my entire plan, my overall methodology, balanced and appropriate? Believe me, answering these questions now is going to save you a world of headaches later on.
So there you have it. A clear roadmap for taking on any research project, big or small. You start with what's known, you find the gaps, and then you build something new with your own investigation. You officially have the map for the journey. The only question left is, what question are you going to set out to answer?